Radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gontos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rad Gontos.
Hello, Mr. Paul Roberts.
I am pleased to have you here on a St. Patrick's Day. We should.
I'm actually surprised you showed up.
We should
acknowledge. I thought you'd be out.
I'd be passed out under a tree somewhere. No, it's a little early for that here.
But still early.
I got my green on
last few years when we pre-COVID, there was no such thing as too early.
Well, you know, I'm older. You're older here.
Well, you're older and wiser.
That's it.
But you know, happy St. Patty's Day to you too.
Yes.
Are you wearing green?
I am. It's a light shade of green.
Okay, you're green. Okay, fine. Exactly. Yeah, I'm too far away from you. You can't pinch me. I'm not wearing anything.
And at the end of the night, I'll be a little green after I have too much to drink.
You'll be a little green.
Exactly.
First of all, how are you doing? I haven't talked to you in a little bit. You okay?
I'm okay because I got my double shots, so I'm feeling invincible now here. I'm one of the handful that's all ready to roar here and feeling great. And it was rather actually kind of touching. I know you've gone through. We've documented the show. Hope your dad's still doing okay. You weren't sure he was going to make it through
it. Yeah, but we're looking to try to get him one, and now it's like, and this is something I'll just add. Like when you have somebody who's ailing and you have an opportunity to get the vaccine, there's an added layer of complexity to this where you're like, if we give him the vaccine and he has a reaction to it, we have to make sure that we have people around and none of us are going to be going anywhere. And should there be any complications added onto his medical condition, is it better to wait for the Johnson & Johnson, give him one shot versus to do two shots? So, you know, a blessing to be able to get vaccinated because you got vaccinated. Me, I have vaccine envy from you because I have to wait longer. Hashtag vaccine envy. There you go.
Exactly, because you have always wanted to be a baby boomer. You've always wanted to be older than you are, and there's only one time I've seen that to my advantage.
Actually, I've never really wanted to be a baby boomer, unless it is because I can get a vaccine.
Got a vaccine early here.
I just want to add that to people because, you know, it's like, thank God we're getting people vaccinated, but people who have medical conditions for their families, there's just another added layer of reality that I haven't seen really mentioned, and we're encountering it ourselves. So, you know, it's a battle between
today we're privileged that
no, I don't know if I'm going to do it right now because who knows, you know, are you going to be around? What if he has a reaction?
So today you have with you, and I'll let you formally bring her in. But
I have my good friend Ada on here, and I can't wait to talk to her because she is right in the middle of this.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other issues that we're all encountering. Ada, thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy. And I appreciate you being on.
And before you launch into the show, and then I'll drop out here, I just want to say, is there ever a time for a need for more sensible, reasonable, fact-based leadership than during this past year? The county, all the way up to the federal government, has been confused and chaotic and conflicting, and therefore the average public is confused and angry and uncertain what to do.
Well, and we've said this before because I also want to be very fair, okay? It's very easy for all of us to do Monday morning quarterbacking on these things when none of us have, you know, it's like you remember early on when we were going through this and we were doing almost the show almost on a daily basis.
Yeah,
somebody would come on and we'd go, they'd be added and something, and I'd go, well, you know, I don't know, man. This is my first pandemic. How about you? Like, right? It's like, do we really have a reference point? So I want to just cut people a bunch of slack on, you know, like on this. There has been irresponsible and abdication of leadership.
Yes,
totally. But in a lot of cases, people have done the best that they can. And unfortunately, this is something that's very unknown, very much a variable changing all the time. And whether you're sitting in a municipality level as a city council member, or whether you're sitting at a higher level as board of supervisors or governor, or, you know, more than that, even at the federal level, it was like, what do we do? And we got to do fast. And so it's totally understandable. But as we come out of this, I really personally, I'm trying to avoid the pitchforks and torches. I'm trying to avoid the trying to find fault with people that have genuinely tried to do their best to get us through this versus those who basically abdicated responsibility completely Well, those people, I think we've already seen it in the special election that just happened the other day. Those people are going to pay a price, at least locally, politically. And that we don't even have to do anything with that, because this is not something that this disease, I mean, it's almost like a cliche at this point. This disease isn't red or blue. It doesn't care about your political affiliations. It doesn't care about anything like that. So I think with that being said, and I want to start with this actually, Ada, because I think it's a good one. We have never, or not never, in a very, very long time, we have not had a common ground. Yes. We have not had something that, regardless of other entrenched ideologies or whatever, that has an opportunity to unite us. And it has, in a way, united us across the aisle on a lot of issues in the course of this last year, just as we have navigated, right? There maybe have been people that are more willing to basically seek help from an area that they would have not necessarily gone to before, because we were all in it together. So that, I think, provides us an opportunity, which we direly need in such a politicized, entrenched, kind of tribalistic environment, to reach across, right? At least on this issue, and then maybe build on that.
Well, I sure hope so. We have endured a lot of difficulties, and I believe that, despite the lack of leadership from the Republican side, we have, the folks on the ground, the regular, people on the ground understand that this is a crisis that we've got to figure out how to get through together. And I know that there are some folks that are resisting the vaccine, and, we will struggle a little bit, but, for the most part, there are people, it took folks a little bit of time to get around, but understand right. the depth of this crisis on the ground.
Well, and I think relevant to the resistance to the vaccine, I heard something the other day very interesting, where in certain places, and it wasn't in California, I think it was in, I want to say like Atlanta, Georgia, maybe, or somewhere else in the South, where they were basically using parishes and churches and places of trust to basically not espouse, but basically to educate, as a platform to educate people, because even within that resistance, some of that resistance is genuinely concern and fear-based, and maybe lack of education. And so we're not going to convince everybody, but there are going to be some people that we don't want to leave behind just because we haven't given them the additional information they need.
Yeah, and when I speak about the resistance, I speak more on on some of Trump's base. Right.
Don't tell me what to do. It's exactly. Almost, I mean, I hate to put it this way, but I don't carry a card from either party. So I feel like I'm an equal opportunity griller. So it gives me a little latitude. It's a bunch of petulant children. I mean, honest to God, it's like, grow up, for God's sake. Right. Like even if it's not about you, it's like, I remember telling clients of mine that have brick and mortar businesses when this first started, and they were like adamant they were not going to do masking. And I said, okay, you got people, quote, your customer, and the principle number one is know your customer, that are basically afraid and concerned. You want to bring them in and you want them to spend money with you, and you're basically not going to do anything to project an image that you care enough about them to basically provide a safe environment. So why the heck would they come in and actually spend money with you, unless they are of your equal ilk and say, no, masks, hell no, I'm not giving you money. That's not the majority of the industry. I said, you want to survive this, I don't care if you are being a complete hypocrite, put a friggin' mask on. Consider somebody else's safety. And Paul will tell you, I mean, I set up a mask company. I have an elderly parent that basically is dealing with dementia and Parkinson's, so it's very real. And I ended up, with all the precautions I did, getting contracted COVID from my 86-year-old father at home because of a caregiver that was basically careless. So if it's that easy to hit you in your home. So anyway, so I think I agree with you, though. I think from what I'm sensing is that we're going to get past this. There's going to be those diehards that are not going to get vaccinated, but I think it's going to move probably faster than we anticipate. I mean, I was saying next fall, and now I'm thinking probably summer. There's
a lot of optimism right now.
Right.
where we struggled, I think, in the first few months to see, the first couple months to see, Blacks and Latinos get vaccinated, I'm already starting to feel very positive about where we're going. There's been a lot of push from our local leaders in Santana and in Anaheim to make sure that we get vaccines. And I'm starting to feel like it's moving. It's moving. Do we need more? Absolutely, we need more. Our communities, my community has been hit extremely hard. The hotel industry, most immigrant community, most impacted, 90% out of work. I represent those workers. Severely impacted. It's just a very dire situation, and we need help right away.
Well, and just kind of switching gears to that industry specifics, that's a major economic engine in this county, and so again, it's something that we all suffer from financially, economically, tourism, everything kind of gets impacted. And it has been interesting to see the partnerships that have evolved from those who have been willing to set aside, I'll call it what it is, juvenile differences, and basically find common ground in the last year. It's been very refreshing. There are people that I know traditionally have not reached to each other, that basically have embraced each other, walked lockstep with one another to work towards things, people that we both know. And it's really been refreshing to see. Relevant to the hotel industry, I mean, from what I'm seeing from my perspective on the design side, is we're looking at an industry that's probably going to struggle for the next year or two. And you've got a lot of people that are engaged in this industry that are not necessarily able to lean in on their savings to weather the storm, right? So what do you feel we need to do? I mean, I saw a report the other day, there were like a lot of people that are leaving the hotel industry, some of them that are even seasoned veterans in the industry, because they just can't last that duration. They can't sit it out. What do you think needs to be done? What is being done specifically to that industry to help it?
So look, I think that we saw the American Rescue Plan that has included money to make sure that there's help for the hospitality industry. We've seen the past, PPP plan that has been helpful. In my opinion, not used as well as it should. It was meant to, and unfortunately, we didn't see that happen. Nevertheless, it is a crucial economic engine for California. And yes, we're hearing 2023.
That's what I'm hearing too.
Yeah. So we're also understanding that, the hotel industry changes hands very often. But we're going to see a whole bunch of that. We've already seen closures of hotels come about. So we're going to hit a rough patch here.
I'm going to share something with you here that I have shared professionally in a couple of circles. And I think if anybody's listening that's from that industry, here's a thought. Now, I'm certified aging in place. I've been doing hotel work since probably about 94. And so I'm working on a project actually in your neck of the woods in Stanton that is on Beach and Clio, I think. That is a assisted living facility that's 80,000 square feet, ground up, memory care. For all intents and purposes, the basic ingredients of assisted living or senior housing of that nature is very much adaptable from a hospitality model. In fact, you could argue that the consumer and service side of it is purely hospitality. And I tell people the hospitality name comes from hospitalers. Hospitalers were the caring, knights that protected the pilgrims to the Holy Lands back in the day. So there's a lot of properties that have come online, especially on that 405 corridor or 5 corridor recently. And some of them actually came online with a lot of inventory of rooms at the time of COVID. And if they're sitting vacant and we have an aging population and we have a lack of senior housing, there may need to be somebody who can think outside the box and say, look, maybe we should be adaptively reusing these properties for the benefit of everybody, including the investors, because it doesn't just sit and get shelved. It actually can generate revenue. And those industries, the assisted living industry, is not a cheap thing. I mean, we need it, and it's a high ticket item. And so, anyway, I'm just putting it out there because
love that. This is the moment for us to think outside the box and figure out, we don't have to think about the same things that we've been doing.
Right.
Some of them broken, right? So we do need, I think that's a fabulous idea. And, we don't want places to close. We want them.
Yeah, if anybody who's listening or anybody you talk to is interested in talking about this more, please let me know. I have a vested interest in it, not only because I'm dealing with elderly parents myself, but when I look around at the offerings and I look around at the dire need compared to the demand that's coming in with people getting older, in all seriousness, I'm probably 15 years away, 20 years away, maybe from this thing. So if we can make it better than we find it by the time we need it, there's sort of a little selfish motivation here to do this. Anyway, I'm just putting that out there because I know you're very much involved in that industry from your side of the equation, and I think we need to basically do something. Otherwise, by 2023, I mean, that's 48 months or 24 months. That's a lot of time for an industry. We could really take a hit badly, and really badly. And we're going to lose a lot of people. And then when we ramp up, we're going to have to find these people, and we're going to have to retrain them, and it's more costly, etc. So anyway, I'm just putting that out there.
Well, one thing.
Yeah, let's switch gears a little bit too to another thing that you guys are probably very much dealing with, because for those who don't know, take a minute and actually not only talk about what has happened in the last few years under your tutelage, like while you've been in that chairmanship position. You guys have actually had a very strong representation currently at the school district level, right? I mean, from the Democratic Party side.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So this
we
return
now have
to
more Democrats than independents or Republicans throughout Orange County.
So it's a major topic of discussion right now. I mean, very much timely and current about the return to school.
That's right. That's right.
So how is that being addressed? What do you see happening?
Well, look, we see different things happening. Different cities are doing, different school districts have been doing different things, but there is, a strong feel that, teachers have to be vaccinated before they get back to school, right? And there's a big dialogue going that teachers need to feel safe in order to do that. And when I say back to school, physically, because people are in school, right? Teachers are teaching, kids are learning already. They're in, they're doing it safely, but they're already in school. So I think that's a very important distinction that, people talk about, there's education happening as we speak. People are working hard to make sure that our children, our educators are working hard to make sure that our children have everything that they need in the best way possible, in a safe way.
How's it been? I mean, from that perspective, because it's not something like that we just went through 2 weeks or something, or a summer or something. This has been a year.
That's right.
So are you seeing, for example, people that are saying, well, I would rather continue to teach, long distance or remotely? Is that going to be an issue here as well? Where you're going to have
teachers want to feel safe when going back physically to school. They want to feel safe. So I think the vaccine makes the difference here. And that's what we're seeing. I don't think anybody wants to permanently stay virtual, but they do want to feel safe. They want to make sure that they're not bringing back the virus to their homes.
Right. Well, which is very real. I mean, that is extremely real. And I want to just remind everybody that, while we're all being very gleeful and joyful about the results and the sort of the downturn and all this stuff, if you take the vaccine existence out of the equation and you look at where we were last year, it was very similar. We had a downturn, then we had spring break and some bad decisions made. We had Easter. Last Friday was the heaviest day of traffic at the airport. So, it's a slippery slope. I mean, we're not out of the woods 100%. And for those who say, well, stop being such a naysayer, I can't help it. I got an 86-year-old dad, and I'm going out there and actually interacting with people and as best as I can, being safe. I don't really want to lose my father. I lost my mom last May. I mean, this is very real for some people. So, stop being a scaredy cat. Yeah, you're not really winning me over, and you're not really winning my business, right? Doing that. Like, you might want to take a different approach to it.
That's
So,
right.
so
I had it in
we
my household as well. So I can understand yours being much scarier with your father and his conditions, right?
Yeah, but it's not even age related. I mean, it's not even age related, right? I mean, I got hit with it at the same time he got hit with it. I dealt with it pretty well. I lost the sense of smell, lost the sense of taste, but it wasn't like it debilitating, right? But I know a lot of people that are younger that also got hit hard with it. So you don't know how you're going to respond to it,
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk as far as I'm concerned. I do want to talk about things that were done right. Yeah, a joint friend of ours just basically won a special election, right? Yes,
Indeed.
we're both smiling from ear to ear,
Absolutely.
and very deservingly so. And she's been on the show before, and we talked about what Costa Mesa did, what Katrina Foley did as mayor for Costa Mesa, and how it was really all dealing with an issue driven. It wasn't a this is my way or whatever it is. It was really trying to find ways to deal with things for the betterment of the majority of people, or as much as you can do. So how does her getting elected, did I read it right? She's the first Democratic woman to ever sit at the Board of Supervisors in Orange County?
That's correct.
And a seat that has never been other than Republican for 120 years?
127 years. Absolutely right.
127 years. I was off. Okay. That's how does that change the face of Orange County?
Well, look, we've been changing. We've been evolving. We talked about it earlier, right?
Yeah.
And, for a few years here, we made a quick turn, right? We've been so conservative for such a long time, right? And we're trying to we're trying to build the structures in the Democratic Party to catch up with our with our change. So we're very excited of having, Katrina Foley be elected. For her to really set the tone, I think her election sets the tone for 2022. We're excited for the wins that we made. We took 20 seats from the Republicans in the last election cycle. I mean,
what do you credit that success to? Because there are those people, and there are times when things. I mean, I don't deal with extremes very well, right? And I hate the word extreme because it really depends from where you're standing and your perspective. But for those that will say, oh, I'm fiscally conservative, socially liberal, it's sort of the California model, right? Like, how do you basically address the almost like too much of a knee-jerk reaction or snap judgment of saying, oh, Democratic Party, liberal, socialist, because we talked about this earlier too. It's like we are in Orange County. It's not even LA County is slightly a different flavor. So what do you credit your success? Because it's definitely noticeable. I mean, it's unavoidable. You guys you've had an amazing run of wins.
We have. Look, I really attribute to that the dynamic candidate that we had in Katrina Foley, the fact that the electorate is changing. We are now 51,000 more Democrats than Republicans in Orange County. I also think that we've been building the structures of our Democratic Party. We have something like 24 or 25 Democratic clubs who have been building throughout in every nook of Orange County.
Right.
People who are willing to write postcards, to knock on doors, COVID safely, to make phone calls, to donate. We finally understood what the supervisors do. And in the middle of a crisis, in the middle of the most difficult time, in our lifetimes, we had a Republican-led Board of Supervisor that was not thinking about your health, my health, or my son's health. And it really dawned on us that we had to speak with one voice. So the fact that we spoke with one voice with our candidate, her issues, which were our issues, it resonated with folks. She's a small business owner, and I feel like that attracted independents and Republicans.
Right.
And she's known. She has a track record.
She absolutely does. Right. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, as much as, and she had just gotten reelected as mayor in Costa Mesa.
That's right.
Right. And a shout out to John, who just basically got put in the position of mayor.
Another incredible Democrat.
Yeah. But the interesting thing, and I've told you before, and people know this about me, is I'm non-party preference, and I grew up in a part of the world where I don't know, it became ingrained in me that you basically evaluate the issues and you look at the people, and that's how you make your decisions, right? I mean, whether you're wearing a jersey with this logo or that logo, it doesn't really fly. I need to make sure that the person is who I think is best for the job.
Sure.
It's really, yeah. And I think to your point, I think that maturity that's happening with the electorate, and it puts a new demand, I think, on the political parties. And I think that you guys in Orange County, and I think that in general, the Democratic Party, but I can speak only like for what I experience on a daily basis here. I think the Democratic Party in Orange County has realized that the electorate is not a homogeneous thing.
That's right.
That there's a lot of diversity, right? I mean, not only on an ethnicity level, not on a socioeconomic level, but it's not, you can't just say, like, it used to be, oh, you're living in South County. Oh, that's the boilerplate. It doesn't get more conservative once you get past Lake Forest or Mission Viejo, right? And it's like, I have seen it change over for the last 10 years. You and I talked about that report that came out years ago. I mean, it's almost been a decade now. This report called The Changing Face of Orange County was released by UCLA. It was a joint effort, I think, UCI and UCLA. And for those who are interested, I will add that link because I do believe it's still online. And it's been changing. And I think you guys have been a little quicker to the uptake on that this is the case. And with candidates like Katrina, I'm looking at the candidate. I'm not looking at the party affiliation first.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I think, and South County has been a very difficult part of Orange County, but we took seats in San Clemente. We took seats in Huntington Beach. And Valley.
Chris is a friend of mine, who's on city council.
Exactly. So I think we've been smart and strategic.
Yeah.
I want to see us grow in our diverse communities and really tailor the message to that community to understand what affects them and what they're looking for. I really think it's all about organizing. I bring that background from my union and what I've learned from my union, but I really do think that it's speaking specifically to those communities that maybe we haven't, maybe neither side has done a great job, but I think we do have the upper hand, and we have nowhere but to grow from here. So
well, and the danger now lies in keeping the focus and the diligence the same way as it was.
Well, look, I think that we now have an opportunity to show what Democrats will do, because now we hold positions. So we went from having 2 Democratic mayors in Orange County last year. We now have 10 Democratic mayors.
Right.
And, we've passed, and it's not only in name, we are passing things that are important to Democrats, and we're passing hazard pay for the courageous, workers in the food, in the supermarkets. We're passing community energy in many cities. We are talking about the issues, the bread and butter issues that affect Democrats and residents across Orange County. So we now have an opportunity to elevate. Look, we have a fantastic mayor in Mayor Khan in the city of Irvine,
Mm-hmm.
and her incredible group, Larry Agron and Tammy Kim, that came along. We've made a lot of strides and have an ability to reach out further into our communities, our diverse communities, to become stronger and to represent the values of Orange County.
I think, Ada, you're absolutely right, and I think it sometimes we get lost in the noise of maybe like national politics and jockeying and all of this stuff. And it's funny because Paul and I say that all the time. All news is local news. right? And it's very true. And if anything, the more recent elections have proven that exact point, because as much as volatile and explosive the national scene was, it still came down to local, and even more amplified because we were commonly dealing with a crisis and a difficulty. So it didn't really matter what you put on the billboard and the blimps flying over the national territory. At the end of the day, what were you doing for me locally? And if all you're doing is giving me lip service and sound bites, then I'm going to see through that regardless what party I'm affiliated to. And it's an interesting dynamic. And you're right. I mean, I think you guys have put out the candidates, and it's been very organic. I mean, to watch it happen, it hasn't really been forced or, it's strategigic for sure.
It's got to be real.
It's been very organic, and it's been like people with track record, people who have proven themselves locally, that are in it to benefit others, that have a servant's heart, and it's proof after proof of them basically delivering on that, regardless of where you stand on the political aisle, you cannot but admire and find inspiration in it. And that's like I said, with Katrina, at a time of need, somebody rose to the occasion to deal with the situation, also didn't neither claim that it was all about her, nor try to basically make it sound like it's all her doing. In fact, shared everything, including the credit, every time. I think that makes a person feel like, okay, I got somebody who's looking out for me. I got some leadership.
She is someone that not only has gotten the work done, but she's built a team around her. I mean, for me, I used her as inspiration all the time when I was thinking about what we can do in other cities. And we were able to do it in other cities, but she's got a dynamic, she had, but now she went on to other things. But she has a dynamic board with people of color, young, and she helped cultivate that. And she left a lasting legacy in the city of Costa Mesa, where it was a ginormous mess, in my opinion, prior to her.
Right.
So she inspired people. She brought people up. That's real leadership. She led in a very difficult time. Look, I called her one day and I said, there's a particular hotel in the city that's opening up without any COVID safe, stuff. And it was right in the beginning. She marched herself into that hotel, talked to the manager. The manager the next morning was going to buy PPP for the employees, came back to ensure that was happening. I didn't even know she was going to the hotel. She is a woman of action, and she's very strategic and thoughtful and fast on her feet. That's why this pandemic, that's why she's navigated this pandemic and has ideas. I know she's one vote, but her voice and her, the way she's thinking about it will resonate in that building when she gets there. And that's why I'm excited for the future of Orange County.
Yeah, I think again, it's always, life's always kind of about a balance, right? And you pick you make your decisions, you pick your balance, you make the best effort you can. None of us are perfect, and so we learn along the way. And I think in the course of that, if we inspire others, honestly, the biggest proof is that you can step away from being a leader in a city.
That's right.
And the city doesn't fall apart. It's not about you. You have inspired, and basically put into place things and people that can now continue the legacy and find their own way, and they're putting their own fingerprints or imprint on what was already started. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch. I mean, the election, proof is in the pudding. 2 years from now, there's another election coming up, or a year and a half, right? So,
I think
let's talk about
great things for us.
Yeah, I think so, and it's going to be interesting to see, because it's kind of yours to lose at this point, honestly. Yeah. It really is. And we as a county could be extremely inspirational to just how people can find common ground and work together. We're not sort of this small rural entity. We're not this huge urban center only. We're kind of an interesting mix of stuff. So I think we have opportunities for stuff like that. I want to talk just about one thing because we kind of talked about it a little bit very quickly. Okay. How do we deal with the impact of COVID that is not, and not only COVID, but COVID and the duration of COVID? As a community, after we get past the initial medical crisis, because
so much rebuilding. I mean, there's so much mental health issues that we're going to have to deal with. I think reacclimating to opening up and being fully out there is going to be very difficult. The recovery, the financial recovery, will that include everyone, or will that be selective? And I trust that President Biden will keep everybody in place and thinking about that. But we need the local leaders to also think about an economic. We can't leave any part of our economy out of it, or any portion of our workers out of it. Right. So I'm very focused on the economic recovery that includes everyone. And we've got to figure out how to bring the hardest hit industries back.
So who's involved in this right now, Ada? Because we're kind of looking at that coming out of that first tunnel, right? We're almost like we can see a little bit of that light, and it's looking like, with the vaccine, we'll come out of that tunnel. We'll get some sort of herd immunity. It'll probably take a little longer on the psychological side and the mental health side to kind of quote unquote bounce back. We're never really going to go back to what we were doing and how we were doing it.
That's correct.
Never.
That's correct.
So again, whether you look at that as a loss or an opportunity to do things different, we all have to make that choice for ourselves. I think there's a huge opportunity if we don't get saddled with how we've done things for 20 years, and that's the only way we know how to do it, and actually look at other pivoting opportunities.
That's why I'm excited about the new leaders that we have in Orange County, because they are fresh. They are, the Democrats that we've elected, they're fresh, they're open to ideas, and that's what it's going to take for us to start our normal, our new normal. It's going to take us thinking outside the box. And you said this earlier, but I can't talk enough about, having people think differently and leading differently. That's what it's going to take for all of us to be successful.
Well, Paul is, I don't know whether he's telling me he needs another shot or something, or he's giving me the early Easter rabbit ears, or what exactly he was doing there. But I think we're almost out of time. So,
yes.
I really, again, want to thank you very much for being on. This has been a really good conversation. I have a feeling it's probably our very beginning of a conversation. I think you'll be back on, and please consider this an open invitation. I
appreciate both of you.
Yeah, I think we really want to keep people informed. The other thing I will say about you and others that I know, regardless, that have risen in the leadership positions, regardless of political party, but a lot of people that I know happen to be on the Democratic side that did this over COVID. You guys have been those who have led have been very approachable and very accessible. And when you look at the damage that happened out of misinformation and lack of transparency, that in itself is such a huge thing that we need to make sure never, ever gets waivers, because we're not out of the woods. And as we go forward and we get past COVID, there will be other things that will challenge us, and that we will have to come together on. So I want to thank you for doing that. And please, anytime you know how to get hold of me, come on back. Absolutely. And share. I would love to have you on. Thank you so much, Ada, for being here.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise. We'll see you soon.
See ya. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Raad Life radio show with your host and age explorer, Raad Gantos, brought to you on the one and only octalkradio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.